the few times that we were with our dad, he had a girlfriend, and she had kids of her own, and it was around Christmas time, I think, because we were wrapping presents for her kids, and I remember them being way better than our toys that my dad had gotten us. I think my dad had given us toys they were for free, the Salvation Army, whatever, and I just remember being so jealous and just so upset that my dad would do that to us. Granted, because we never saw him, and the times that we would see him, he would be having us wrap presents for other kids, knowing they were better than the ones that we got, which it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And then the other time, very inappropriate, we were in a hotel with them, and he was supposed to take us swimming in the pool, and we were stuck in the room, and him and his girlfriend were in the bathroom doing their thing in there. And those are the two times that I remember my dad. And after that, I don't think my mom let him see us anymore, just because of the experiences that we had. It was just straight up ridiculous. And obviously, there's way more things that happened to us. But honestly, for the most part, what I mentioned is everything that I remember living with my mom. And I was basically 9 when I left her. So to have my memory be that spotty, it just leaves me wondering so much. And I'm like, what happened that made me just completely shut down all the time and just live so dissociated as a kid? And I'm like, I just want to know. But part of me is also like, obviously there's a reason my mind, body did what it did to protect me. So I have to honor that. But it's hard sometimes just living in a mystery of not really knowing or having many memories as a kid. But one summer, my grandma came and got my sisters and I, and we were only supposed to stay with my grandma for the summer. We were actually supposed to go back to my mom. That's at least what I was told. And so I had turned 9 a month after we moved to Oregon. So we moved from Montana to Oregon. And I just remember that day that I left, it was very traumatic, very, very traumatic. My older sister and I, we had stolen money yet again from my mom because we wanted to go to the A&W and get ice cream. And my mom's friend worked there, and she actually had called my mom, hey, your girls came down here with money. What's going on? And so when my older sister and I got home, we got in so much trouble by my mom. My mom almost didn't let me go, and she put up a huge fight against my grandma, with keeping me there. Obviously it didn't happen, and all of my sisters, we left, but I just remember it being very traumatic, and leaving on that note was very unsettling. And I just remember driving down, getting emotional thinking about it. I just remember driving away and just having tears in my eyes, and just, leaving my mom. Granted, what we had already dealt with for so long, it wasn't the best situation. Obviously, she wasn't the greatest to us, but it's still your mom, and you still love her, even though she was abusive and she was an alcoholic, a crazy alcoholic. It was still really hard, and I just remember longing for her leaving, and just crying and just looking out the back window. That was really, really hard. And my grandma actually told me that I was really angry for a really long time after we moved to Oregon. And I wouldn't really talk about much, but I would definitely act out. And so this is where I started acting out, looking for attention in the wrong area. So I was 9 years old now. And as I mentioned before, I already had a sexualized childhood, okay? And so now I'm ripped away from my mom. Okay. Super traumatic. I was sexually abused already and exposed to a bunch of stuff. My sisters and I, we were used to being able to do whatever we wanted. And then we come live with my grandma, and we are more supervised. My uncle was there, my grandma was there. And this is when I just started acting out. I would run around with the boys in the apartments. I was promiscuous for my age. It was not appropriate. But here I was acting out, trying to get attention from the only way that I knew, the only way that I was modeled. And so I was always trying to play with neighborhood boys and go over to their house and get attention from them and do all of that kind of stuff. In the 3rd grade, I was having boyfriends and kissing boys and doing all of that kind of stuff. And it's just so sad. And I wish I could just go back and hug little Danny, and just give her so much love and give her the attention that she needed, because my reactions were so sad. And I actually hung out with my older sister a lot, so I would go and hang out with her, and she was already hanging out with older guys, and so I would actually go and hang out with my oldest sister because she was like my mom. She took care of my middle sister and I, and so I always looked to her, and I was always with her just because she was my comfort. And so she was doing the same things that I was doing. She was looking for attention in the wrong areas, and she would tag me along with her. And we would go around the apartment complex looking for cigarettes. So we continued to smoke when we moved here to Oregon. And we would go to different people's houses, and we would go to parties. I remember she took me to a party one time. And it was just kind of like weird because I was really young and I shouldn't have been there. And I guess apparently my grandma had told me, she's like, hey, Danny, like, if you don't want to be with your older sister, you don't have to be. And then from then on, I no longer hung around my sister, and I stayed back, and I would just I actually made friends with girls in the apartment complex that I lived in. So that was kind of the end of me and my older sister being buddies and getting into things that we should not have been getting into.